Hi everybody, I am Professor F.B. Khan from Mass Communication Research Center, Jamia. Today we would be talking about how light affects photographs, how we should have best lighting condition to do lighting. As we all know, light is something which we take it for granted. The entire day and most part of the night we have light all around us. And we think that if there is bright enough light, we can take good photographs. But this is not true because with light we don't just light up things. The light is not to just make things visible. Light does much more and beyond what we think we can do. The light would give, for instance, meaning, emotion, mood. It also gives you detail, shape, texture and lot of those things which are only possible if you have right kind of light. What has happened that during our evolution as a human being, we lived with light, we worked in day, we were at leisure time, it was evening near campfires or those kind of light. So, with passage of time, these kind of lights have been associated with certain mood because they refer to that kind of activity. So, usually soft evening warm light are associated with leisure, approachable, those kind of personality or any scene which you create. On the other hand, very direct light, high contrast light, or when the light rays are quite straight, when they cast nice shadows, they gives you strength, they depict formal setup. So, energy, detail and all that are more in the daylight. Let us talk about in detail how we modify characteristic of the object or the scene with the kind of light which we should look for or create. So, we will start with the color of light. In the morning, you have, when the sun has not come, you have a light which is quite blue. Then in midday sun it becomes neutral. Then in the evening when the light is fading away, then the sun become redder and the light which comes to the reaches the subject is quite red. We call them as color temperature. The kind in a little technical language, where the color of the light is the light has several colors. So, the composition of light, if it has more blue, we would say that it is a high color temperature light. If the light has more red tones, yellowish red and less blue, we would call it as a light which is which has a color temperature which is low color temperature. Usually candle light is a low color temperature light. Tungsten lamp is little higher than fluorescent lamp or quite high color temperature lights. What happens with the color temperature? The color temperature with a colder light you depict distant, cold and serene nature of any subject. So, if I say take a early morning cold scene or a beach scene, you would opt for a bluer kind of a hue, so that it looks little calmer, little colder, also distant. Same way we can look at if we have to have a very warm personality, then we would like to have warmer color on the entire photo or a person's face. So, we would be altering color temperature. So, the color temperature can be either altered in your camera. So, if you have a camera, it has some means to change the color temperature, or look for a nice light, the light of that kind. So, there are ways we modify these. So, that means that we are not stuck with what is there at that point of time, but what we want to show. So, we can modify, there are filters which can modify light, there are settings in the camera which can modify light. So, there are several ways, but the main point still remains that the cold temperature, the colder looking photos would have a different meaning than a warmer looking photo, and that is that we would say that it is a high color taken at a high color temperature or taken with a low color temperature. So, this is one of the major characteristic we look at, or when we do a post production on our photos or on a video, we look at the tonality, the how they are blue or warm tone. Now, the second aspect is that the light can come directly to the subject. So, if the light rays are coming very direct, parallel to each other, that would mean that they would cast a definite shadow. And if some light which is coming from quite distance or from a very small source of light, all these light would be called harsh or hard light. Now, the hard light would mean that the hard light has a characteristic that it would create lot of details, lot of contrast. So, also the shape of thing can be very well etched out. So, those three characteristics are there, that you have, if there is a direct light, you are going to get a good contrast. Of course, contrast can be later managed. You are going to get lot of details. You are also going to get texture. You are also going to get the shape of the object which you are taking a photo. Again, this kind of light would make people look more powerful. The rock would be more sturdy, the bark of the tree would be more visible, and it will show that the tree is very strong. So, in all those occasions when you want to create that kind of mood, you have to resort to a hard light. The second aspect is the soft light. Now, the soft light comes from if there is lot of fog in the atmosphere, you are still started getting a soft light, because sun rays are getting filtered. If there are cloud in the sky, you are going to get soft light. If the light is not falling directly, it is getting reflected from a white wall or from a window. In all those circumstances, we are going to get a light which is called soft light. So, we use reflectors, we use all those kind of devices to, or use a translucent sheet to create a soft light. Now, what is a soft light? A soft light is something, so a hard light is a small point light which is coming, maybe a small, the torch light in your camera is a example of a hard light. While if I reflect something from this paper and I am getting this reflection, so all the light which is coming on here is now getting in here and then getting reflected in all directions. So, it becomes multiple light sources. So, each point here becomes a light source. Now, this would create a light which is called soft light. Now, soft light, what happens when the light was hitting here and it was creating a shadow? but the light from this, which is like from here, would 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 make the shadow a little lighter. The light coming from here would also fill up the shadow. So that the light which is soft light would create either no shadow or less defined shadow, depending on how soft my light is. Now the shadows, if there are no less, if there are less shadows, that would also mean that there is less contrast, and that would also mean that my details would be not so harsh. So my small imperfection on my face wouldn't show up so badly. Lot of those details would be wrapped around with the light, and that gives a dreamy effect, that gives this effect which is like very soft. And so it is dreamy, soft, approachable, warm, all those kind of feeling get associated with a soft light. And so we use soft light to accentuate all this. Now the third very important thing for a light, how we use light, it could be a daylight or a studio light as where I am sitting, is the directionality of light. Now the direction of light becomes hugely important. For instance, side lighting. So if I have a, if the light, if I am holding a camera like this and the light is coming from this side to this side, maybe on this table it is grazing past this. So this is, if because it is at a 90-degree axis, it is, this would be called side lighting because coming from the side. So just imagine sun is on your left shoulder or sun is on your right shoulder when you are holding the camera. Now this light would gives you lot of detail, lot of texture, and it also gives light which are half lit things. So the shape of thing would get very accentuated. So all dome and everything would become very accentuated. All the details here, or maybe if there are the texture or anything of the table would become very accentuated. So this is another kind which is quite dramatic. It's not normal. We don't use it more often. We use it for an effect. But if it is going past this, this is going to have a very profound effect on the viewer, and you would see lot of details and a different kind of a photo. Now I would then come to the backlighting. If I am pointing the camera here and your light source is also looking at me, if the light source is here, so what would happen, that the subject in between would shade this light, and this would be, so if you say that when I want to define backlight as the name implies, backlight would mean that the light is coming from the back. Now how we use it and why we have backlight? So backlight has several purposes. Number one is that it separates things which are at distance, which are layered, but normally in a straight photo they do not come. For instance, imagine a tree and then there is another tree and then a building, then a line of tree. If I take a normal photo, they would all get merged up. They would seem as if they are all standing at one place. But if I do it on a backlight, then all the trees and all the building and everything would have a rim light, would separate the tree with the building and maybe the person who is sitting ahead of all this. So if there are several layers in your and everything looks very dull, the backlight actually works very well for you, and there are a lot of photographers known for doing this kind of a, looking into the sun kind of photography. So, this is another very, very interesting photo situation. So, it also create dimensionality, that all the, maybe a raw piece of rock or whatever is very nicely uh, accentuated. Now, we should go to the, so the first thing which happens is that it separate distance. The second thing is that if in my scene there are anything which is translucent, backlight is going to work wonders for you. What are the translucent or transparent things? If there is a fountain, if there is water, so these are all example of translucent things. If there are new leaves through which the light can pass, that is also, they come very, very beautiful. Maybe flowers where the petals are transparent, so you get a very nice the colors which comes through those petals, and they create a magic, and they look very nice. So, also if there are cloud in the sky, then or a storm, so the edges of the cloud get lit up, and the color, and because some clouds would be dense or some cloud would be less dense, you would get those shapes very, very nicely. So, on those stormy days, or on those where there are something which is happening in the, by way of, any disturbance in the sky, backlight looking towards the sun, creates wonderful results. So, these are the situation where wherever we find anything translucent, go for backlight, and backlight is going to do wonders. And the second thing is that if I have an opaque object, if I have a object like this where no light passes through, now if I put it against a white background, against the sky, and expose for the skies, make the sky white only, then because no light is reaching here, I will get a silhouette. Now, the silhouette is another thing where, of course, with silhouette you lose out on three dimensionality. Most of the silhouettes are two dimensional, but you get the design of the subject, etched very, very nicely. So, if there is a nice design of, trees, or there are or somebody sitting, or a profile, or any other object, they don't, so you don't have anything to in the frame to distract your viewer. So, you have a very nice, so maybe my side profile against a white background would give me a very nice silhouette, which would be two tone, which would be either white in the background, and my black figure in the foreground. Of course, you need to have lot of details on the edges to be able to have nice portrait. The other thing is that the silhouette could also have multiple colors. So, maybe a whole lot of bird sitting and the sun is setting, though you get the silhouette of the bird and several colors of the setting sun, yellows, red, and everything. So, this is another kind of silhouette where we do not burn out the background. So, this could be multiple color background, or it could be white, you don't know, one background which is white color. So, of course, with silhouette, the moment we utter the word silhouette, we know that we are talking about subject where no fill light goes. The subject is actually taken as stark black with no details. Only the detail of the periphery, outer side is captured. So, that is another way of doing it. Now, purposely I am keeping this in the third point is your front lighting. So, what is front lighting? Front lighting is the usual one which we see that the light is coming from behind. If the sun is, you are between the sun and the subject. So, if I am pointing the camera towards you, the light is coming from behind and falling on the subject's face. Now, this light usually we, on the first instinct, we do not go for a light, because we call them as a flat light, because the light is coming from behind. It does not have any dimensionality. The face would appear flat, no cheekbone, no jawline accentuation, no if it is a scenery, there is the depth and three dimensionality is lost. Of course, what you get is good vivid colors, you get lot of details, but no tonality in them, no three dimensionality, the texture is missing. So, the all that is lost out, but you get good colors, you get good details minus all this. So, we usually do not do this, but there are special occasion when we would like to do front lighting. The first of all, if you are in hills and you get that red glow on the snow, the red glow on the snow would only come when the sun is behind you, and of course, you have to frame your subject that the foreground does not become too boring. So, usually people do a silhouette plus the red glow of the mountain, or there are other ways to handle this problem. The second is something which is where you require the light from behind, another phenomena which is called rainbow. Rainbows only come when the light is coming from your back and you have point your camera towards that, and that is another way where you only get the front light. Interestingly, there, if you want to have nice, if you on some scene you get a very nice, for instance on a beach, you are getting the shadow of palm trees or shadows which are going towards the beach. So, the front light would let the nice shadows in the foreground, and on the background you can have the whatever you want to create with which can be with the light which is front light. So, front light would let the shadows of whatever you want to create in your foreground, and then the next, so the scene would be followed. Unlike so, there could be another light which is the when the day changes. So, it has several light, as we were when in on the opening statement I said that there are several kind of light. So, the first light which comes to earth after the sun is is just about to get up from the horizon, and this is called magic hour. Now, magic hour is it does not last an hour, it would probably last an hour on an equator, but if we move far from equator, the magic hour actually shrinks to half an hour or that kind of a time, where it's why it is magic, because the sun ray travel lot of lot distance on the atmosphere coming to the subject. So, it becomes soft, it becomes soft, it has a very nice warm glow, because blue have already been filtered out, and it has a directionality. So, it has directionality, it has little softness, because the entire horizon is little giving you a soft light. The central part is nice reddish warm glow you can get. So the golden hour is something everybody should try once, and this is a very nice light which is for, let's say, 10-15 minutes you have to, the best part would be about 10-15 minutes when you have to wrap up, you have to shoot and come out. And the this light which is called golden hour light, the early morning light, can be used in several ways. So one could be you are shooting against the sun, and where you get the little halos around the person, and then warm glow engulfing the whatever you are shooting. It can also be done with mountains, rocks, and other thing. You can take it little sideways, where the light is not, against you. You can also take the magic hour light from your back, like a flat lighting. So you can have several, and you would get a very different kind of a light, which is several, of very, so initially the first shot usually are when you shoot against the sun, and then you can later find out what happens when the light is coming from left to right, or it is coming from back. So all these light would be very good in the sense that they would give a glow, a warm glow. So it would have a combination of a directional light together with a soft light all around as a fill. And so the second kind of light, which we called, is dawn or dusk light. Now, dawn and dusk light are usually quite, overall very blue, magenta, blue, these kind of colors are there. But these lights are used for making very nice portrait for wedding, or those when you have when people have light in their hand and the sun is setting behind. So it's also quite magical to have that kind of light which comes with overall. So you can have the magic hour in the background and fill the subject with some with a little flash, or a reflector, and get a very nice overall effect on the dusk or dawn. So this is another, and it's usually very good if you have a light or something in your hand to accentuate the effect of background. So I hope this would help you understand how lighting works. So the lighting is not just to see, but to create a mood, to create three dimensionality, to have details, and to say things clearly through your photograph. So though in one word we can say that the light plays the same role as music plays in the film, because it gives you a mood, it gives you a context yeah, under which you would actually try to analyze your visual. So this is all for today. Maybe we'll see you next time soon, and then we'll go deeper into the discussion and talk about how we use them in day to day photography. Thank you.